Have you ever wondered why a man who seems interested suddenly pulls back? Why he starts watching you, testing you, before he truly commits? This isn't random, it's instinct. Men don't just fall in love. They evaluate, they assess, and they test. Not to play games, but to find something real. A strong man isn't looking for just any woman. He's looking for the right woman. He's looking for trust, respect, and loyalty. He's looking for someone who won't break under pressure. Someone who can stand beside him, not behind him. And before he opens his heart, he needs to know. Are you that woman? Today, we're going to break down the 6 tests a man will put a woman through before he truly falls in love. A man will always test a woman's patience before he truly falls in love. This isn't about playing games or making her wait for no reason. It's about seeing how she handles the natural process of building something meaningful. Men, especially those who are serious about their future, are not in a rush to fall in love. They take their time because they understand that real love isn't built overnight. They want to see if a woman is willing to let things unfold naturally, or if she's pushing for immediate gratification. When a woman becomes impatient, constantly asking where the relationship is going, demanding emotional validation before he's ready to give it, or expecting instant commitment, a man sees this as a red flag. It signals desperation rather than confidence. And a man does not fall in love with desperation. He falls in love with certainty, with a woman who trusts the process. Patience is not just about waiting. It's about how you behave while waiting. A man pays close attention to this. Does she become anxious and insecure if he doesn't text back immediately? Does she question his feelings if he's not constantly affirming them? Does she start making assumptions, reacting emotionally, or trying to force something that should develop naturally? If so, he recognizes that she's more interested in securing a relationship than in truly understanding him as a person. That's a problem. Because love, real love, is not about possession. It's about connection, and connection takes time. A woman who trusts this process shows confidence. She shows emotional maturity. She understands that a strong man isn't looking to be pressured. He's looking to be inspired. A man also wants to see how a woman handles uncertainty. There will always be moments in the early stages of a relationship where things feel unclear. Maybe he's taking longer than she'd like to fully open up. Maybe he's not immediately declaring his love or making future promises. Maybe he needs space to process his own emotions. In these moments, he's watching. He's observing how she reacts. Does she panic? Does she assume the worst? Or does she stay grounded, allowing him the freedom to come to his own conclusions? A woman who can remain steady during uncertainty shows that she is not dependent on external validation to feel secure. She is self-assured. And that is incredibly attractive to a man who is looking for real. When a man senses that a woman is patient, that she doesn't need to rush or control the timeline of the relationship, it gives him a sense of safety. He feels that he can trust her, that he won't be pushed into something he's not ready for, and that she respects his process. And that respect is key. A man does not want to feel like he is being tested on how quickly he can commit. Instead, he wants to feel that he is choosing commitment because the woman in front of him has shown him that she is worth it. That's a major difference. A woman who is patient understands that if a man is truly meant for her, she doesn't have to chase him or force him into commitment. He will naturally move toward her when he feels ready. There's also another aspect to patience that many women overlooks: the ability to endure the slow moments of a relationship. Not every interaction will be exciting. Not every day will be filled with passion and romance. Real relationships have quiet moments, mundane moments where things feel routine. A man wants to see if a woman can handle those times with grace. If she constantly needs excitement, drama, or constant emotional highs, he will see her as someone who is chasing the feeling of love rather than the reality of it. But if she can appreciate the steady, even the slow moments, it shows that she is truly invested in the man himself. Not just the experience of being in love, and also test patience by seeing how a woman reacts to obstacles. Every relationship will face challenges, whether it's differences in opinion, external pressures, or simply the ups and downs of life. If a woman is quick to give up, to walk away the moment things aren't perfect, he knows she isn't ready for something deep. A patient woman, however, understands that great relationships take work. She doesn't expect perfection. She doesn't demand immediate solutions. She stands firm, willing to navigate difficulties rather than run from them. This resilience is what makes a man feel safe enough to fall in love. He knows that if he chooses her, she won't abandon the relationship when things get tough. Another way men test patience is through their own personal struggles. Every man, no matter how strong, will go through periods of uncertainty, stress, or emotional withdrawal. When this happens, he watches how the woman in his life reacts. Does she immediately take it personally? Does she assume he's losing interest? Does she try to fix him, push him to talk, or demand that he be emotionally available on her terms? Or does she give him the space to figure things out on his own while still offering quiet support? A patient woman understands that a man sometimes needs to retreat into himself before he can fully re-engage. She doesn't panic. She doesn't try to control his emotions. She simply remains steady, knowing that if the connection is real, he will come back stronger. Ultimately, patience is one of the greatest indicators of a woman's emotional maturity. A woman who is patient communicates that she values quality over speed, depth over surface level affection, and long-term connection over short-term validation. She doesn't need to force anything because she knows that real love is built over time. And that kind of woman, that's the kind of woman a man will fall deeply, irrevocably in love with, because she is not just reacting to her own needs, she is respecting his. And in doing so, she creates the space for a relationship to grow naturally, deeply. Respect is the foundation of any meaningful relationship, and a man will always test a woman to see how deeply she understands and applies it. This test isn't about arrogance or control. It's about ensuring that the woman he chooses to commit to truly values him, not just for what he provides, but for who he is. A man needs to know that the woman he's with respects his thoughts, his decisions, his boundaries, and most importantly, his identity as a man. Without respect, love cannot thrive. One of the first ways a man will test respect is through the way a woman speaks to him, especially during moments of disagreement. When emotions are high and tensions rise, does she still maintain a level of decency, or does she resort to belittling, sarcasm, or outright disrespect? A man will notice if a woman talks down to him, corrects him in front of others, or dismisses his opinions as unimportant. This isn't about a fragile ego. It's about recognizing whether she sees him as an equal partner or as someone she needs to control or undermine. If a woman constantly corrects him, makes fun of him in ways that feel demeaning, or talks about him negatively to others, he takes note. Because to a man, respect isn't just about love. It's about honor. Another crucial test is how a woman handles his leadership and decision-making. A strong man is not looking for someone who blindly follows him, but he also doesn't want a woman who fights him on everything. He wants a partner who can challenge him with intelligence and grace, not with defiance and hostility. If a woman constantly dismisses his ideas, refuses to acknowledge his input, or always insists on having things her way, he sees that as a lack of respect. A man values a woman who can offer her perspective in a way that uplifts rather than in a way that tears down. When a woman says, "I hear you, but here's another perspective," rather than "that's a dumb idea," he notices she's showing that she respects his mind while still asserting her own. That balance is powerful. Men also test respect through the way a woman interacts with them in public. Some women, in an attempt to be playful or assert dominance, make jokes at their man's expense in front of others. While some lighthearted teasing is normal, a man will pay close attention to whether a woman makes him feel supported or embarrassed in social settings. If she constantly corrects him, laughs at his mistakes in front of people, or makes him feel small, he will start to question if she truly respects him. A man needs to know that his woman will stand by him, not just in private, but in public. He wants to feel that she is proud of him, not someone who needs to put him down to elevate herself. Another test of respect is how a woman treats his time and his priorities. A man who has goals, ambitions, and responsibilities needs a woman who understands and supports that. If a woman constantly demands attention at the expense of his personal growth, dismisses his need to focus on his career or passions, or acts entitled to his time without consideration for his obligations, he takes that as a lack of respect. He wants to know that his woman sees his work, his ambitions, and his responsibilities as valuable, not as obstacles to her own needs. A woman who encourages him to succeed rather than making him feel guilty for being driven earns his deepest respect and admiration. Respect is also tested in how a woman handles a man's vulnerabilities. Society often expects men to be strong, unemotional, and always in control. But the truth is, men have insecurities, fears, and moments of doubt just like anyone else. A man will watch closely to see how a woman reacts when he opens up. Does she listen with empathy, or does she dismiss his feelings? Does she use his vulnerabilities against him in future arguments, throwing his weaknesses back in his face? Or does she create a space where he feels safe enough to be real? A man will only truly love a woman who proves she respects not only his strengths, but also his moments of weakness. Because in those moments, she has the power to either build him up or break him down. Perhaps the most telling test of respect is how a woman behaves when she's upset. It's easy to be kind and respectful when everything is going well. But when there's conflict, when emotions are raw, when a disagreement arises, that's when a man will take notice of how a woman handles frustration. Does she lash out, insult him, call him names, or give him the silent treatment? Or does she express herself firmly but with dignity? A man understands that disagreements are inevitable, but what matters is how they're handled. A woman who can stay respectful even when she's upset shows a level of emotional maturity that is rare. And that is the kind woman he will commit to. At the core of it all, a man will only fully open his heart to a woman who proves she respects him, not just when he's at his best, but also when he's struggling. Not just in words, but in actions. Not just when it's easy, but when it's challenging. Because for a man, love without respect is empty. And the woman who understands that, she will be the one he chooses to stand beside him for life. A man will always test a woman's independence before he fully commits to love. This isn't because he doesn't want to take care of her or be there for her. It's because he needs to know that she is capable of standing on her own 2 feet. A strong man is not looking for a woman who depends on him for her happiness, self-worth, or financial security. He is looking for a partner, not a burden. He wants to know that the woman he loves has her own sense of purpose, her own goals, and her own ability to navigate life even without him. One of the first ways a man tests independence is by observing how a woman spends her time. Does she have passions, interests, and ambitions outside of the relationship, or does she make him the center of her world from the very beginning? If a woman drops everything the moment she meets a man, canceling plans, neglecting friendships, or putting her own life on hold, he takes note. At first, it may seem flattering, but very quickly, it becomes concerning. A man does not want to be the sole source of a woman's happiness. He wants to be a part of her life, not her entire life. When he sees that she has her own direction, her own dreams, and a full life beyond him, he respects her more. He sees her as someone who adds value rather than someone who needs a. Another way men test independence is through financial responsibility. This doesn't mean he expects a woman to be rich, but he does want to see that she can take care of herself. A woman who constantly expects a man to pay for everything, who relies on him financially without even trying to contribute, sends a message that she is looking for a provider rather than a partner. A high-value man will not tolerate this. He wants to know that if he were to lose everything tomorrow, the woman beside him would still stand strong. She wouldn't abandon him when times get tough because she isn't with him for what he provides. She's with him for who he is. A woman who manages her own finances, who is responsible with money, and who doesn't expect a man to fund her lifestyle proves that she is independent. And that is incredibly attractive to a man who is looking for a serious commitment. Emotional independence is another major test. A man will pay attention to how a woman handles stress, disappointment, or setbacks. Does she crumble the moment something goes wrong? Does she constantly rely on him to fix every emotional issue in her life? Or does she have the ability to regulate her own emotions, process challenges, and find solutions on her own? A woman who is overly dependent on a man for emotional stability becomes exhausting. He begins to feel like her therapist rather than her partner. But a woman who can navigate her emotions with strength and maturity shows that she is not looking for a man to complete her. She's looking for a man to complement her. That distinction is key. Men also test independence through small moments of separation. A man may intentionally take some time to himself, whether it's focusing on work, spending time with friends, or simply needing space. In these moments, he watches how the woman, does she panic? Does she assume he's losing interest? Does she demand constant attention, needing reassurance at every turn? Or does she respect his need for independence and use that time to focus on herself? A woman who can handle a man's space without insecurity shows that she is whole on her own. She is not looking for validation every second of the day. She already knows her worth. That confidence is what draws a man in even deeper. Another critical test is how a woman pursues her own ambitions. A man will notice if she has goals and actively works toward them. Whether it's a career, a passion project, or a personal mission, a woman with ambition commands. It shows that she has a sense of purpose beyond just being in a relationship. A man does not want to feel like he is the only thing giving her life meaning. He wants to know that she wakes up every day with her own sense of drive, her own sense of purpose, and her own commitment to personal growth. When a woman is dedicated to improving herself, she becomes infinitely more attractive. A final test of independence comes when a man faces his own struggles. Life is unpredictable. There will be moments when he is stressed, when he is going through personal challenges, when he is not at his best. In these times, a man looks to see if a woman can stand strong on her own. If she immediately falls apart because he's not emotionally available for a short period, he sees that as a red flag. A strong woman, however, knows how to hold her own. She understands that while she supports her man, she does not depend on him for her emotional survival. She can lift him up when he's down, not drain him further. That kind of woman is rare. At the end of the day, a man does not fall in love with dependence. He falls in love with strength. He wants to know that the woman he chooses can stand beside him, not just lean on him. He needs to see that she has her own path, her own vision, and her own ability to navigate life. Because a woman who is truly independent doesn't need a man. She chooses one. That choice, made out of strength rather than necessity, is what makes a relationship truly powerful. Emotional stability is one of the most critical tests a man will put a woman through before he fully opens his heart to her. This is not because he expects perfection or an absence of emotions. Quite the opposite. A man understands that emotions are an essential part of any relationship. But he also knows that unchecked emotions can destroy love, trust, and peace. He will observe closely to see how a woman manages her feelings, especially under stress, disappointment, or conflict. Because for a man, emotional stability is not just about maintaining harmony. It's about knowing that the woman he commits to can handle life's ups and downs with maturity, grace, and self-awareness. One of the first ways a man tests emotional stability is by watching how a woman reacts to frustration and stress. Life is unpredictable and challenges will come. Whether it's in the form of work problems, personal setbacks, a man pays close attention to whether a woman can handle these situations with resilience or if she allows them to overwhelm her completely. Does she spiral into negativity at the slightest inconvenience? Does she lash out, blame others, or let her emotions take over in destructive ways? Or does she take a step back, breathe, and approach the problem with a clear mind? A man knows that in a long-term relationship, there will be difficult moments, and he needs to trust that the woman beside him won't crumble under pressure. Another major test is how a woman handles conflict within the relationship itself. Every couple will experience disagreements. It's a natural part of growing together. But the way those disagreements are handled makes all. A man will notice if a woman resorts to emotional manipulation, passive aggressive behavior, or dramatic outbursts when things don't go her way. Does she give the silent treatment for days, expecting him to guess what's right? Does she explode with insults, bringing up unrelated issues just to hurt him? Or does she communicate with honesty and emotional control? A man deeply respects a woman who can express her feelings without turning the situation into chaos. He wants to know that when problems arise, they can work through them like adults, not fall into destructive patterns of emotional warfare. Emotional stability is also tested in how a woman reacts to uncertainty or jealousy. Every relationship has moments of insecurity, whether it's seeing her man talk to another woman, dealing with time apart, or facing unknowns about the future. A man will observe whether she lets jealousy and insecurity control her actions. Does she constantly accuse him, demand unnecessary proof of loyalty, or assume the worst, or does she trust him, knowing that a relationship is built on mutual faith rather than fear? A woman who cannot control her jealousy or needs constant validation will eventually exhaust a man. On the other hand, a woman who is secure in herself and in the relationship creates an environment where love can flourish. She understands that trust is a choice, not just a feeling, and she gives her man the space to be himself without unnecessary suspicion. Another critical test is how a woman responds to emotional pain. Life will inevitably bring moments of heartbreak, whether from loss, disappointment, or betrayal. A man will observe whether a woman processes her pain in a healthy way or lets it consume her. Some women carry past wounds into new relationships, using them as weapons. They hold on to grudges, compare their man to exes, or expect him to pay for the mistakes of others. A man will test whether she has the ability to heal and move forward, or if she is trapped in a cycle of emotional turmoil. He wants a woman who acknowledges her pain but does not let it define her. A woman who can face heartbreak with strength, learn from it, and still choose to love fully is a rare and valuable partner. Men, it also tests emotional stability through how a woman reacts to his own struggles. A man, no matter how strong, will have moments of weakness, doubt, or emotional exhaustion. He needs to know that the woman he chooses will support him, not make things worse. If in his hardest moments, she becomes another source of stress, demanding attention, making everything about her or reacting emotionally to his emotional state, he will pull away. But if she can remain steady, offering support without pressure, he will see her as an anchor in his life. A woman who can stand strong while he is struggling is the kind of woman he will never want to lose. At the heart of it all, emotional stability is about balance. A man is not looking for a woman who is emotionless or robotic. He wants a woman who feels deeply but also knows how to manage those emotions with wisdom and self-control. He needs to see that she can handle life's challenges, relationship conflicts, and personal insecurities without falling into destructive patterns. Because in the end, love is not just about passion. It's about peace. And a woman who brings peace into a man's life, even in the midst of life's storms, is the woman he will choose to love, honor, and commit to forever. Loyalty is one of the most crucial tests a man will put a woman through before he truly allows himself to fall in love. To a man, loyalty is not just about faithfulness in a romantic sense. It is about trust, commitment, and knowing that the woman he chooses will stand by his side no matter what. A man needs to know that the person he gives his heart to is not just with him when things are easy and exciting, but also when life becomes challenging. He will test a woman's loyalty in subtle ways, not because he enjoys playing games, but because he wants to be certain that she is the kind of partner who will remain true in all aspects of life. One of the first ways a man tests loyalty is by observing how a woman speaks about him when he is not around. Does she defend him when others criticize him? Does she respect his name in conversations with friends and family? Or does she complain about him, belittle him, or speak negatively about their relationship? A loyal woman does not degrade her man behind his back, even in moments of frustration. She understands that loyalty is not just about actions, it's about words, respect, and integrity. A man will take note of how a woman represents their relationship to others. And if he senses that she is quick to badmouth him, gossip, or expose private matters, he will hesitate to fully trust her with his heart. Another way men test loyalty is through difficult times. Every relationship goes through rough patches, whether it's financial struggles, career setbacks, or emotional challenges. A man will watch closely to see how a woman responds when he is not at his best. Will she stand by him, encouraging him to keep pushing forward? Or will she distance herself, complain, or look for an exit when things become inconvenient? A high-value man is not looking for someone who is only there for the good times. He is searching for a woman who is willing to go through the storms with him. If a woman is quick to withdraw when difficulties arise, it signals to a man that she is not truly loyal, but rather she is only there for what he can provide. Men also test loyalty through the way a woman handles attention from other men. In today's world, where social media, instant messages, and flirtatious interactions are common, a man needs to know that the woman he chooses is not easily swayed by external validation. A man will observe how she reacts to compliments, flirtation, or opportunities to engage with other men. Does she entertain their advances, even if just for fun? Does she enjoy the attention so much that she subtly encourages it? Or does she make it clear through her words and actions that she is committed to one man only? Loyalty is not just about physical faithfulness. It is about emotional exclusivity. A woman who seeks attention from multiple men, even in small ways, signals to a man that she is not fully invested in him. But a woman who respects the boundaries of their relationship, even when no one is watching, proves that she is truly loyal. Another important test of loyalty is how a woman reacts when a man is not available. Every man, especially one who is ambitious and driven, will have times when he is focused on his work, his personal growth, or other responsibilities. In these moments, he will notice whether the woman in his life supports his goals or resents them. A loyal woman understands that a man's ambition does not mean he loves her any less. Rather, it means he is building something for their future. A disloyal woman, however, will become impatient, seek attention elsewhere, or try to guilt him into choosing her over his aspirations. A man needs to know that his woman will remain by his side even when he is not able to give her constant attention. He wants a woman who sees his growth as a shared victory, not as a threat to their relationship. One of the strongest tests of loyalty comes when a man makes mistakes. No one is perfect. And in any long-term relationship, misunderstandings, disagreements, and failures will happen. A man watches carefully to see how a woman handles these moments. Does she immediately run to others for advice, exposing their private struggles? Does she hold his mistakes against him indefinitely, using them as weapons in future arguments? Or does she address the issue directly, work through it, and remain committed to the relationship? A loyal woman understands that love is not about perfection. It's about dedication. She does not abandon her man the moment he slips up, nor does she use his flaws to tear him down. Instead, she works with him to find solutions to grow together and to strengthen the bond they share. At its core, loyalty is about trust. A man needs to know that the woman he loves will not betray him, whether through words, actions, or emotional disconnection. He tests loyalty because he knows that without it, no relationship can survive. A woman who proves her loyalty by standing firm in difficult times by respecting their relationship even when he is not around, and by choosing him every single day, is the kind of woman he will never want to lose. Because loyalty is not just about staying. It's about staying with a full heart through every challenge, every success, and every moment in between. And when a man finds a woman with that kind of loyalty, he knows he has found something truly rare and irreplaceable.